Good evening, everyone. I just want to make sure that you're able to hear me well. Please confirm. Great. Good evening. We're just about to start in a few minutes. We're just making a few checks about our live broadcast on YouTube. Please feel free to share our link to the people who can watch us online on YouTube. And we just going to start very shortly. The topic of workshop today, how to win a startup pitch competition in 2020. What to focus on, how to prepare your pitch deck, what are the expectations from investors and the audience, how to make sure you covering all important information during very short time, just in a few minutes, which is usually a pitch presentation goes. And yes, feel free to prepare your questions. We have a special guest experts today, and we are more than happy to answer all the discussions and all the questions you have. Just a quick link in case you want to share the live broadcast to your friends or your colleagues. Feel free to do so. And we're just about to start in a few minutes. So please take your tea, coffee, water, and we're about to start very quick. All right, we are ready to start. As I mentioned before, today we have a special workshop, how to win a startup pitch competition. Today we have our special guests helping us to create a right approach, how to pitch your startup to investors, to the audience, which probably not always investors as well. It can be pitch for your customers, pitch for your possible co-founders. So any types of pitch we are going to discuss today. Also, we have two startup pitch examples. So we will see how to make it in real, and we will have a real-time feedback from our guest experts. So as I said, please prepare your questions regarding the pitch presentation. If you have any questions, how to make it work, if you're just about to start pitching of your startup to some investors or some attendees of your activities, please prepare your question. Today, we select the best question, and the best question of our session get a special prize. So feel free to ask the question you have. And yes, today I would like to share our plan for the session. So today we have the two parts of our workshop. First of all, how to structure your pitch presentation, what information to include, how to design a pitch presentation, what investors expect to hear, how to answer the questions, any tricks to do the great pitch presentation. And also, second part is delivery, how to be outstanding, how to present, how to use your body language, and how to build your confidence, and how to be inspirational for the audience, and how to sell yourself and your idea. And as I mentioned before, today we have 2 examples of pitches. So please stay with us. And as I said, feel free to prepare any question about pitching, about preparing your pitch deck, anything. And before we start, some information. First of all, this workshop organized by Eligent Club. Eligent Club is a community of tech entrepreneurs all across Europe building the projects online, and our community is here to help. We run multiple activities like workshops, networking events in London and also across European cities and countries. Please check out our social media, Instagram, Twitter, special community WhatsApp group, Facebook, LinkedIn, and also email. And also, before we start, I just want to make a quick announce in case of any connection issues. Please check out our upcoming events as well. Technologies and product development for tech startup on 30th of April, 2020, 6 p.m. next week. Tickets on eligent.club. Our major event of this season, investment pitch day of our accelerator program on 28th of May. So it's going to be online, a live broadcast session. So again, in case you're interested to see pitches, to meet with investors, have a real-time conversation about your startup, and also see how other startups pitch, please check out eligent.club and join our investment pitch day. Also, on 26th, 28th of June, we have a special startup weekend. If you are looking for a co-founder, if you are looking for a good startup idea, please join Eligent Startup Weekend. It's 100% online startup weekend where you can meet a co-founder, build your startup, and also pitch to the audience. And we also have a special prize for the winners during Eligent Startup Weekend. Moreover, what is very important to mention that this year we organized first international film festival about startups in London, 26th, 28th of November. Please check out the website and follow the news. It's going to be very exciting. And if any questions, feel free to reach out to us via email info@eligent.club. And now I'm here to introduce myself and also our special guests. So Matt Black is one of them. So Matt, good evening. Good evening, everyone. And I'm about to start our introduction. So first of all, my name is Slava Baranovsky. I'm the founder of Eligent Club and Eligent Accelerator Program, serial entrepreneur working on digital tech projects, entrepreneur in residence of Brunel University, London, international speaker and mentor at HALT Founders Lab of HALT International Business School in London. You can find me across social media channels. Please add me on LinkedIn. I'm more than happy to follow up. And if you get any question, more than happy to discuss with you later on. Today we have a group of our special guests. Please, today we have a Steven Glott from Berlin, Germany, and I think Steven is already here. Yes, Steven, good evening. We have Derek Stewart. Derek Stewart is participant of Eligent Accelerator. He is a winner of Investment Pitch Day in 2019, and also he's a founder and CEO of PaySme startup. Derek today is pitching and giving the presentation about his startup. Derek, good evening as well. Matt Black. Matt Black is the incredible person, international speaker, entrepreneur, author, public speaker, and also Matt was actively involved in our recent Eligent Accelerator Investment Pitch Day by running the events and making it great. Matt, good evening. Thank you very much for joining us. And Matt is our invited expert today. So Matt, stay with us. Oleg from London, Oleg Giberstein, co-founder of CoinRule from London, UK. Oleg is also showing his startup today, making a pitch presentation. So it's going to be very interesting and very live. And Oleg, we are here to see what you're going to present to us and how to make pitch presentation outstanding. So Oleg is joining us very shortly. Also, Peter Rosa from Paris, France. Peter, if please correct me if any mistake. Peter is a startup mentor and advisor, investor, and deep tech investment fund management. So, Peter, good evening, and I see Peter as well. So, thank you very much for joining, and I will make you a speaker shortly. And one more guest, Soumi Vijay, consulting partner at Tata Consultancy Services, mentor at Faster Capital, London, UK. So, Soumi, good evening. If in case, yeah, I also see you as well tonight. So, yes, we're just about to start. Soumi, thank you very much for joining us. And if you don't mind, first of all, I would like to introduce Matt and ask Matt to give us few advice basically how to start, how to make the pitch presentation outstanding. What advice you can give to startup founders this year now in this current situation as well, which is not easy. So Matt, I just made you presenter. If you can check your camera and sound. And Matt, I would love to hear your advice and comments to our audience. What to start with and how to start preparing your pitch and how to make it outstanding. Matt, if you can double check your video or camera, and please join us. And yeah, I would love to hear your advice and your insights to our guests. So I'm while we are waiting. Matt, if you can double check your sound and camera, you can click on yourself and activate your camera. Yes, so we just about start. And while we're waiting for Matt, I think what is very important to start with is, first of all, is to remember that people invest in people, not in startups, especially at the early stage. And what is important, I think, to remember is that your first impression is very, very important for successful pitch, and also for great impression of everything you're going to say afterwards. So I guess what is important is to start from yourself. And before actually running any pitch presentation, I guess it's very important to, first of all, identify who is your pitch audience. Are they investors or some other attendees? And then you probably can align your pitch due to the audience you have. And I think this is very important to keep in mind, and also to make a research who is your audience and who channels, and make sure you understand the people and you understand the audience you talk to. And yes, Matt, we're still waiting for you. So if you can activate your camera. And yes, so what I advise is to know who is your pitch audience, make research about the judge panel in advance, and make sure the pitch is relevant. So if you pitch to investors, please make sure it's relevant, and maybe your pitch presentation is much more focused on investment projections, on your financial projections. And also, if you pitch into startup founders or maybe your potential startup founders, it's also important to include the information about why you're doing this and what is the stage of the business. If there is, some also traction exists, and also the equity structure. So again, it's very important to make this relevant for the audience. And you can find, if you pitch into investors, you can find the this information around these channels, and again make it much more prepared for the audience. And while we're still waiting for Matt, if you don't mind, I also connect with Solmi. Maybe you can give us your feedback and maybe some of your advice in order to make it relevant to the audience. How to prepare your pitch and how to make it work. So yes, Solmi, I also made you presenter. If you can double check your camera as well and connect us, it would be great to hear also your vision, how to make the first steps. And I also just made you a presenter. So Solmi, please let me know if you're able to connect. And yes, I'm just currently following the discussion and the topic today we have. Also, what is very important is the very common question of what information to include to your pitch deck, to your pitch presentation. And I think what is very important is to, first of all, to include it as compact as possible, to make your information as really very clear, and also at the same time exciting, to make it interesting for the audience, and also to make sure they feeling it's interesting. Yes. Also, what is very important is to make sure that somehow you're able to present your product during your pitch, and also you're able to demonstrate and make sure people able to see it by having any demo. So please, I think it's very common case where some startups, they pitch for in front of audience, but they don't actually show anything in terms of how the product looks like and how to see how it works. So again, Solmi and Matt, please join our conversation, because I just made you presenter. And yes, feel free to ask your questions in the meantime, our audience, because today we speak how to make your pitch outstanding and how to make it work and how to prepare for a pitch presentation. Yes, just regarding the information about what to include to your pitch deck, there are multiple things for sure. First of all, what is your idea, or what is the USP? What is your business model, and how you're going to monetize your startup, and what is your target audience, and also who is your potential customer, and what is the market size, and and also who are your competitors, what's the competition, and also to explain. It's very important to explain why your product is better and what you make better and why it's special, in order to make it interesting. And also, what is very important is to send a clear message to your audience. What are you looking for? You're looking for money. You're looking for investments. You're looking for a co-founder, strategical partner, or anyone interested to join your startup. But please send very clear message whom you're looking for and which terms as well. And also to include why your product is so special. I think Solmi is here. Solmi, I just made you presenter. Solmi,
yeah.
Evening. So
hi, Slava. Hi, everybody. Nice to be connected on this platform. After a bit of struggle, I've been able to get connected on the video. Right.
Yes.
Just a quick round, maybe in terms of what we see in the market at this point of time.
Please do.
And what is happening. As we all know, this COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown has obviously affected quite a number of us in various ways as such. So any use cases that basically target easing people's lives, easing businesses, etc., in this pandemic situation is likely to be a big hit for sure. and we are also seeing that this pandemic situation is probably not going to go away very soon. So even if lockdown is lessened or maybe relaxed, there is going to be further effects from this kind of a situation. The other observation from the market is also that there is some amount of risk aversion setting in. So startups that have a good unit economics upfront are the ones who are going to be definitely successful. Presenting those sort of startups upfront, etc., would be a good way to basically win a startup pitch competition. I wanted to make those points first of all, and also to talk about the fact that if there are societal problems that you're trying to solve, if there are inconsistencies, etc., that you're trying to resolve. As we all know, the new normal is probably going to be one of collaboration, artificial intelligence, automation. So these are definitely hot areas to actually look out for.
Right, and Soumi, maybe you can, due to your experience, Matt Black, good evening. Just asking the questions. Maybe what is the first thing you look during you watch someone's speech? What is the first thing you're trying to identify? What is your trigger to decide if that's a good speech or a good presentation? And what do you think the most important to focus for early stage startups when they make, especially when they make a first pitch to get the first seed round, for example?
So firstly, sorry it took so long for me to get my technical stuff sorted. This is the first time I've used this particular application. I feel like a complete tech idiot when it took me so long to get it done. It was just a little button at the bottom, for God's sake. And sorry for cutting across you, Somi. I just was trying to get it going. So to answer your question, in this current environment, more than ever, people want to see. I mean, you've heard me talk about this before. So it's a real clear understanding of the gap that you want to fill, the solution that you're selling, and most importantly, the gap that you fill, the value you provide. It's got to be really clear. And so many people think that it's enough to do something little or just a little bit better or something like that. We see pitch decks all the time that is just, it's a little bit faster, it's a little bit cheaper, it's a little bit different. That's not going to do it in this current. It's not. You might have got away with it years ago, but even 6 months ago you couldn't get away with it, and today it's even worse. The other thing that's really important right now that I hear a lot of, I've had rejection after rejection, but get startup pitch decks we sent to funders. They say, well, how are they addressing the situation now, and where do they see the gap going in the future? So you need to address the elephant in the room. No matter what industry you're in, doesn't matter what you're in, I don't care what industry you're in, it's affecting everybody on the whole planet, and you need to address it. You need to have, and a lot of pitch decks I see is, here's a pitch deck and here's our COVID-19 one-pager, how we are tweaking or dealing with the threat, the opportunity, around COVID-19. And I've seen that quite commonly. It's just like an add-on document to kind of deal with it. So I think it's really important that you address that. You don't have to dig into detail on your deck, but it's maybe a nice to have an add-on to it. That's why I see a lot today. But the basics are always going to be clear. And even though the market is horrendous at the moment for funding, bizarrely, we've had a lot of complaints from investors that they're not seeing enough quality deal flow still, that actually the number of startups pitching is really low. And so there is still opportunity out there. We're, in fact, we're just in final negotiations for 500K, and we only just put this client on, like, I don't know, 3 weeks ago. So it's been really fast. And 500K is not that easy to come by at these kind of times, but he's got a good business. It has taking advantage of an opportunity in COVID-19. He was set up to raise 250 a while ago, but now he's raising even more, and there's appetite for it.
Right. Oh, well, Matt Black, thanks a lot. But Soumi, also, please, if you don't mind sharing your advice and what you look at first when you're just about to see the first impression. What are you looking at?
Yeah, pretty much. I can second what Matt just said. Right. You can no longer say that here is one, one use case, maybe looking at network effects or looking at, shall I say, monetizing data, etc. I think right now, if you have a use case that is going to charge your end customer directly, and you have a solid unit economics in place, those are the ones that are likely to win. And as I mentioned when I started off, there's definitely risk aversion that is setting in. And when I say risk aversion, I think Matt explained it very well. So what would work, what would have worked maybe 6 months earlier, not going to work at this point of time, right? And in fact, even with a number of accelerators and incubators or whatever, the expectation today is basically a good economic case, straight away in front of them. It's got to make sense, basically.
Right, Matt, Soumya, thank you very much for your contribution. Please stay with us because we have examples of pitches today, and please, we would wait for your feedback and giving any comments how to improve the pitch presentation and make it maybe even better and more actual. Soumya, thank you very much, and Matt, thanks a lot. In the meantime, if you allow me to add some few comments about what to include to the pitch deck, and please, our experts, please make some add-ons, and also please feel free to ask any question. In the meantime, we select the best question of our session and give a special prize. So please don't be shy. Ask the question you want to figure out. And also, as we discussed that, the question also, it's not about to make, as Matt mentioned, the product little better or less expensive or something little, more outstanding. So please make sure you have a clear message why your product is so special. Maybe it does something completely different, which is not never existed before. So and as more clear you make it, the better. And also, what is very important then when you make a pitch presentation, and it's very important to explain why you and where's your expertise is coming from, why you are expert in this particular topic. If you work in deep tech, do you have any engineering experience? If you want work in educational startup, so what's the connection to you and why you decided to do this? Do you have any working or academic experience, or maybe some courses or training? And so please show your team. It's extremely important to show who is running your startup and who is doing what. And also, especially if you pitch for investment, it's great if you can showcase your equity structure, who is the maybe the main equity leader in terms of how much or your team has. And also, please show the expertise, who is the responsible for particular directions of your startup. And also bring your mentors and advisors on board. Talk to your academic teachers, talk to your maybe some customers, business partners. Please ask them to join, if they're interested, to join your startup as advisor or mentor. And just like an example of when you're showing your team, as I mentioned before, please show the pictures, show the name, the position of the in your startup, and also equity structure if possible, if you already cleared it. And also your advisors, someone from academia, someone from business environment, helping you to reach certain levels of expertise, and also to supporting you on the back. So if you don't have any mentor or advisor, and you in your maybe early 20s or even 30s, the question can come, why you, and how much expertise you've got so far in order to be experts in the field. So please, again, feel free to ask the questions in the meantime, and we are happy to answer. And just on general basis, if you have first, let's say, 3-5 minute speech, please don't have, I don't know, 50 slides during the presentation. Make it compact as possible, 8, 10, 12 slides, and very clear message for each slide if you have it during the presentation. And please avoid too many text, too many figures, too many statistic data. It's very hard to follow, and it's very important to keep it very clear. And again, across all the presentation, I guess investors should get very clear understanding why you're doing this and why your project, why to invest in your project, if there is something exceptional you do right now. And also, it's great if you have kind of also a main message. Again, why you're doing so? Is your startup trying to disrupt some particular industry? Is your startup has a particular social impact, or trying to beat the poverty or inequality? Is your startup is eco-friendly, or is you running some sustainable project, or something in connection to COVID-19, for example? Anything, but audience should click with your mission and understand that it's something very important to make and to build. And also, what is very important is to make sure your presentation looking great, and your presentation has very, again, a nice design and very attractive one. And during doing so, please be creative, and also please, as a summary, use the short headlines, bright visuals, very clear message, and simple structure. And if you are not a professional in design, there are a bunch of the templates, a bunch of resources online which you can use in order to make the design looking great. And if you just can Google as pitch deck template, you can find the multiple thousands of pitch decks templates which you can use and align it to your presentation. There are a few resources I just wanted to share with you. Pitch deck templates you can find on invetor.com. There are special websites where you can check the contrast of presentation, and I think it's very important if you go into the wide audience and you don't know what is the screen, how it looks. So please make sure the visuals you have in your presentation are contrast enough and the big enough as well. Also, regarding the color scheme of your template of the pitch deck, there are ready color schemes you can find. The website like colors.core, you can find the multiple good color schemes to use. Also, free pictures, free photos, you can go to unsplash.com. Free pictures and photography you can use for any purposes, which is great. Also, you can find the free icons at flaticon.com, which is also great. If you need any icon for your pitch deck or any presentation. And also more examples of pitch decks at business-plus.com. So feel free to check it out, these resources, and make your presentation more visual. And also, next question, what investors expect to hear during your presentation? And now, if that works, I would like to invite Peter, from who is our expert today, and I would love to ask Peter this question. How to make sure the presentation you make is relevant for investors, and how to make sure they really excited to what you deliver, and how basically to make your presentation outstanding. And Peter, I just good evening.
Hey Slava, hey everyone, awesome to be here.
Yes, if you can introduce yourself, please, and make a few words about you.
Well, I was formerly a nuclear reactor engineer, which is not commonly known, but I was that originally. I jumped into the startup ecosystem as a tech entrepreneur, having led 2 startups myself. Then went into the investment landscape, being an investor, a professional and venture capitalist, and also advising investors and startups a lot, and now helping also evaluating projects in the case of the pitch competitions as well. So that's me.
Right, Peter, what's your advice? How to make the presentation outstanding? I believe you saw so many before, and especially I think what the topic today, how to win a pitch competition. And I think what is very difficult when you have 20 startups pitching, and when you are first one, it's very easy to take the attention of the audience. If you're running in the middle and maybe number 10, you know, the investors already kind of exhausted. It's very hard to keep focus. And if you're number 10, 15, or maybe in the last one, how to make sure the investors, they're still excited to see and hear you, how to make it work, and what's your advice you can give?
So that's a fantastic question, and I can tell you I had this experience no longer than last month when I was bored after the number 20 years and they were just speaking very like blah, 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 blah. It was awful. Thing to remember is it's all about human relationship and human psychology. So you have to understand how to capture attention, how to retain it, and how to make me want to understand more. So the easiest way to do it is forget what you want to say, forget about the audience, forget about everything, and just think about 2 things if I have to make you remember 2 things. First, be Steve Jobs on stage.
Right.
So the way I tell that to my mentees or students is fuck everything, just be Steve Jobs.
I guess we lost Peter.
What?
Yes, sorry for interruption, Peter. Yep.
All right, so I don't know where you guys left it, but basically it's an exercise of human psychology and about a few things. So things to remember is what I will remember as a judge, 7% is the content of what you will say, 35% is about your voice, about how you say stuff, and 58% is about your body language.
Right.
So I have to feel when I look at you that first you mean business, I have to hear it, and then I will compute it based on what you write or what you present on the pitch. So I'm just going to look at you and see how you behave in space. So if you like this, what kind of message do you think I'm sending you? Whereas if I'm standing like this and I start to use my body in a business way, right? And then it's about my voice. Do I transfer confidence? Do I transfer vision? Do I transfer ideas? Words, they are either a wall or they are a window. A window to what? A window to an entire new world in which you lead me in. So if you use stupid words that either have negative emotions connected to it or negative ideas connected to it, you lose me. If you start to create a story in which I want to know more, then I'm in. Then I'm interested. And if you say it with this business approach of you're like this, you're handling yourself well, then I'm completely in. And the last part about this is it's not even about being better than the others, it's about being different. So, for example, I'm going to be a speaker at a conference, and everybody will tell the mentees how to succeed. And what I'm going to tell them is how to successfully fail. Because it's not about knowing how to succeed, because usually if you knew that, you would already succeed. So you don't know. It's about knowing how to not succeed. Because then you stop doing whatever you do to fail, and you will start doing what you need to do to win. Be different.
Okay, thanks a lot. But also, just again, sorry for my being a bit picky. But imagine during the pitch presentation, you have three amazing, outstanding pitch decks, very interesting ideas, very inspiring, powerful startup founders delivering the message. What would be your final decision points if you really like two or three of them? How would you still identify? Okay, they're all good, very interesting startups, very emotional, nice ones. What would touch your decision, more?
Absolutely, and that comes down to this where we're at the end of the selection process. So once I have this feeling on all of them, I know that they're good, that they mean business, and all of that is equal. First, there is personal preferences, which you cannot choose. You start pitching me about, for example, retail. I don't like retail. So if this is the topic, I'm going to lean towards what I feel inside connected to meets tech, as you've seen it. So first of all, it's the inside preference that you want to have, but you can't control it. Second, then it's being about the content, about first how different your product is and what kind of business you're building around the product. A lot of founders have fantastic ideas about the product. Fine, let's put that on the side. What kind of business are you going to build? Because building a business and building a product is two different things. So if you can convince me about the business you're going to build, about how you're going to attract customers, about how you're going to appeal to customers, and what kind of impact it will have, then I'm in.
Right. Yes, I agree. I completely agree with you. And also coming back to the current situation and what we discussed recently before, that definitely some startups, they probably would try to reshape the strategy due to the current situation, the coronavirus, and so on. And I believe maybe the multiple of startups would try to react and also to align the kind of the pitch decks and so on. But how also to make your startup actual? Because probably what is also important is to make sure your pitch deck is relevant for right now to the current situation, and also your pitch deck is relevant for 6 months time or maybe 12 months time afterwards. And how to make sure you kind of not just catching the trend, but you're really making something much more valuable rather than something for very short time frame, if you know what I mean.
I do know what you mean. And I've seen that a lot. You've seen that a lot of people see that as opportunistic pitch decks where you just understand just an opportunistic stuff and okay, it's out of the window. So first of all, I think we need to address the elephant in the room. You will never make sure. You will try, but you will never make sure. So what you will do is an attempt to do that. What I personally believe it's connected to the value you bring. If it's a problem you solve, it has to be a problem that is almost independent from the current time. So it's going to be relevant now, it's going to be true in a year, it's going to be true in 2 years, or you don't have a business. It's as simple as that. If you can build a business, you won't build it in 6 months, but in 2 to 3 years, what you build has to solve a problem and it's still relevant in 2 to 3 years. And any opportunistic decks will not solve anything that will be relevant in 1 to 2 years. Let me give you an example. Let's try to picture a Shopify business that you want to try to build. So before this COVID situation, everybody would pitch you anything. It's awesome. Now COVID happens. How does Shopify businesses do? Well, probably poorly. So the problem was not solving anything in the duration, but only for the period of time where it was valid. COVID comes and then it's all over. So this is not a problem, a good business, just a one shot or a short-term business. What kind of problem you're solving? Is it still true throughout time? And how can you convince me about this? Well, for example, I see a lot of companies that now have home working solutions. None of the infrastructure currently, either in France, is currently adapted for mass scale home working. Are you solving a problem in this situation? Well, I bet you do, because now it's relevant. Is it going to be still relevant in a year? It will, because companies now understand that they can do that and start delocalizing from those big infrastructures and just sending people home. See what I mean?
Well, thanks a lot, and Peter, incredibly valuable insights and actual, maybe as I said, not for right now, but for very long run. And I think it's incredibly important to focus not only what is actual, in very short time frame, but also for a longer time and period. And I also just made the presenter Stephen Glott. Stephen, if you can join us as well, and maybe to contribute a few comments from your side. Peter, please stay with us. We have the pitch presentation shortly, so we would wait for your feedback and also the comments. Peter,
perfect.
thank you very much. And Stephen, if you can join us in the meantime and also give your opinion on how to be outstanding, how to make it work for now, for the future, and also please introduce yourself. Let me make the introduction. Stephen from Berlin, Germany. If I'm not mistaken, please make a correction if something wrong. Please, Stephen, good evening. If you can introduce yourself and tell a few words about what you do. If you can check the sound, we still cannot hear you yet. Yep,
my bad. Can you hear me now?
Good evening. Yes.
Yeah. So entrepreneur, both had failures and minor success. Small exit. I've went through the process of raising money multiple times, and ultimately, I think what Peter is saying, building a business is a lot different than I think today's focus is just to win a pitch competition, which is, are you someone who is charismatic, compelling? Do you have a good story? And I think the only things I look for in a pitch competition, which to me isn't really mean anything, but if you were doing an elevator pitch or 2-minute pitch, it's what is the problem? How are you solving? And the solution, is it very, very clear and concise, stupid, simple to understand, and the market really for me. And I think a lot of what Peter was saying about someone's body language and how they come across and their confidence, I think is important. And I think something that you had mentioned is really important, of course, is do they seem like with that confidence that they're an expert, or they're obsessive with trying to solve the problem? And I think we all know, if we take one step back in business, that I think the successful entrepreneurs, one of the most important traits for me is like, are you a hustler? And if you unpack that, are you someone who has no shame, who can sell, who is willing to ultimately do whatever it takes to succeed?
Right.
And so you have you're a killer, really. Someone who's going to be successful has to be that person, or we always hear the anecdotal success stories, but for the most part, people who are successful, they need to be that kind of person. So do you get that? And I think the way that Peter broke it down into the percentages, although I've never heard that, I would align with 7% content, probably true. And is this person memorable? And is their story believable? I think the last part I would add into a pitch that I'm not sure I heard from the others is, it's really important that I don't care exactly the granular details of what market strategy you have, how you're acquiring the customer, what verbatim you're going to say. It's, do you sound like you have a really good plan of what do you want from me? And if I give you what you're looking for, aka the money, what will that get you to, so that you can get to the next step? So what is the next covenant or milestone that you're getting to? It sounds like you're so clear on your aim and the path to which you get there.
Right.
I think then I'm sold. But
thanks a lot. But also kind of maybe your personal advice when you previously, I believe you did your own pitches. So do you have your personal trick before you actually come into the stage? Maybe in a few minutes, what do you do? I don't know. How to prepare yourself mentally, and how to make sure you didn't forget important information, and as you said, to make very interesting storytelling, and also to keep the attention of the audience. How to make this first connection? What would you do first?
Yeah, the first thing I always do is ask an open-ended question. It engages the audience because they have to think.
Right.
So open-ended question that's probably, you know, some general entrance to ultimately the argument that I'm building.
And we definitely gonna cover that, but I would love to ask you now, if possible. As you know, it's very important part of the pitch presentation is the Q&A session, where investors, they ask picky questions, they grill your heart, and so on. So what if they ask you a question you don't know, or something you really, did not make any research by some reason, you really struggle to answer? What would be your advice? How to react to the question you really find difficult?
Super direct. Say that you haven't done it, and I mean, it's got to be short and sweet. Everything. If you haven't, they want to know how you're going to answer the question. I think is more important than what you answer.
Right.
So direct answers. Don't beat around the bush. I don't think any, at least from what I know, entrepreneur answers in a way that is taking a circuitous route to arrive to an answer. One, you sound like an idiot and not coherent, and two, you know, you're not honest. To me, it shows a sign of weakness that you can't answer something direct. So that's just me.
And when you have a choice, for example, you have 20 pitch presentation. When you have a choice, would you go first or would you go last one? And if you last one, and if you see that the audience is very tired, what is the trick to keep them engaged? If they really lost their focus, they're thinking about going home, checking the social media, how to grab that attention? Even you mentioned before the opening question is very important, but how to to bring the energy to the audience? Any advice as well?
Yeah, I'd probably go last. I like to always go out with a bang. For me, it's in always engaging with the audience. So I might make a slight sarcastic comment about either of my competitors, or about the judges, or something that might lighten the air. And I'm quite an aggressive salesperson, so I try to cut the tension or any air that's in there. Try to go right for it. So go for something probably sarcastic or funny.
Right. So again, to make the connection first with the audience, and then to try to deliver some message, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, Peter, sorry, Steven, thanks a lot for your comments. We just in about 5-10 minutes, we have the two pitch presentations. So if you don't mind, stay with us, please. Give your feedback after, and thanks a lot. I think it's extremely valuable to hear what you say, and I think it's extremely helpful for those entrepreneurs who just about to start pitching practices and try to compete during the pitch presentations. Thank you very much, Steven. Stay with us. I'll make a connection with you later on. So yes, thank you very much. I see the questions in the chat, so please feel free to ask more questions. We are moving on, and what I just wanted to add you is about the visuals and the expectations of investors, and how to make sure, again, they see the interest to your project, and what investors they expect to hear during the presentation, especially if it's investment pitch, how and when they can exit successfully. Do they see that sort of the roadmap that you actually can successful bring company to the next round, or you can bring company to the IPO? At least, do they see the sense in the business model? Do they see sense in the financial projections? And do they understand if they invest today, how quick they can exit, which is also very important? Do they need to stay in 10 years in the company, and or they potentially can leave sooner? And I think it's incredibly important also to mention what kind of investor are you looking for. Are you looking for someone with quick cash, or someone more strategically to join your company? and maybe someone who able to stay with your company for maybe 5-10 years more. So as I said, if you can state very clearly how investors can join your company and also how potentially they can exit and when, that would be very good. And also what investors expect to hear is how much you need for what and what equity. So if you're trying to fundraise, let's say 100,000 of euros or pounds, please clarify why do you need this money, and also how much equity you can offer or would you suggest, and also you know, how you're going to spend this money, what's going to be your activities or next milestone. Also, what are your financial projections when you're trying to reach break even, when you get a certain amount of customers, when you're planning to reach maybe some new markets. So again, explain what are your financial projections, and also what are your resources for execution, because if someone gives money tomorrow, are you scalable as a team? Are you ready as a team to deliver your KPIs and targets you stated in your financial projections? Is your team as the you know, has enough resources, expertise, knowledge, and dedication to work? Because what also what is very common case when startups, they pitch for investments, and some team members, they work part-time somewhere else. So investors also would be able to hear how you're gonna work after the investment rounds, after you know you got investment. And also, what's your expansion plan strategy? Are you planning to reach international markets? Are you planning to launch new products? Are you planning to increase the market share of existing markets? So please clarify what's your roadmap again. What do you want? Or are you building the biggest company on the market? Or you're trying to make, I don't know, merge and acquisition at some point? So again, please clarify why you and your project and where it goes to. What's your destination? So it's great to hear. And how to answer questions, we discussed with Steven that definitely it's incredibly important to be very honest, very direct, and you know, say as it is. And even you don't know the answer, I guess it's very important to at least show the interest and be very, I don't know, intelligent, probably not arrogant or not. Do not try to argue with the audience, because there is no point. You come to the pitch session to discuss, to engage the opinions. Even you disagree, I think it's very important to respect others' opinion, and also to listen carefully and make sure you answer in the questions correct. So please make sure you understand the question, and in case you do not understand the question, please, it's better to re-ask rather than answer it incorrect. And a few comments as well about how to answer the questions. It's very important, as I mentioned before, be honest, to highlight the relevance of question, show the awareness that you're aware of the problem, maybe some of judge panel attendees say, and also highlight your solution, how your solution reacts or responds to the problem or discussion raised, and as we mentioned before, raised. And there is a list of typical questions I experienced myself with my tech startup, but these are just a few. Very common questions, and please, our invited guest experts, please add on more in case you feel there are a few more very common ones. But if you're trying to solve some very common problem, very common people ask, a lot of startups failed before. Why do you think you will make it? And what problem does your product solve? And what is your target market? Who is your customer? What is your plan B, C, D in case you're not able to, let's say, I don't know, make a partnership or reach certain milestones in specific time frame? And what if customer target group is too small or too large? Or if the market is too competitive or there is no market needs? you need to explain how you're gonna increase the market, or how you're gonna focus and make some focus on some niche. And how will you convince to download app or a new tool, because people are exhausted of new solutions now, and it's very important to explain how people would be keen to download new app into the mobile phone. And what's your track record as well? What are the milestones you achieved in your startup already? And what are your growth projections? And when you're planning to exit, for example? And what's the roadmap we discussed? So it's very important to, again, be ready for all these questions, because, again, these are typical ones, but definitely not all of them. There are much more. And a few comments about how to tell your startup story. And as we discussed before with our experts, it's very important to make connection with audience, maybe create opening question, give a comment to the audience, make something controversial, or make any debate or discussion in order to make audience interested. And also connect the dialogue you raised with the audience with the problem to be solved, or the problem you're trying to solve with your product. And also, it's very important to highlight the solution and explain why your product. And also, in the end, also definitely to explain what do you need from the audience, how much money you're trying to fundraise, and how you're going to spend this money, and make a connection between you and project, why you decided to build this. And maybe also it's good to start with the connection, maybe start with your previous background or experience, how you decided to solve the problem. And some pitch tricks, a few tricks before we actually start in our pitching session with our two pitch examples. So it's very important to be outstanding, to create something different to previous, attendees. If you're just one of 20 startups pitching, it's very important to be different, to find some unique points you can create during this environment. So what Stephen also mentioned, please try to be memorable, to be someone who will be remembered. And what is also important is to demo your products and involve audience and let them try your product, or maybe showcase somehow, or maybe to involve audience and give them an experience of trying your product somehow. Also, what you can do to the audience, if that's allowed by the startup competition, you potentially can bring some of your customers to help you to demonstrate product, or your partners who can also contribute to your pitch somehow, or maybe it can be part of your pitch presentation. And also what we discussed, that if the audience is tired and they watched already 10, 15 startups, bring some positive vibe. If you started with some arrogant approach, if there is any disrespect, definitely, people are not following, not interested to follow you. So please, some energy, some positive vibe. Coming back to my experience, I pitched many times, and one of my pitch presentation was number 15, I guess, out of 20. It was extremely hard, and I just raised up my voice, I guess, dramatically. I just raised it up at the beginning in order to wake up everyone. And since I saw the attention, and since I saw that the people following the dialogue, and I'm keeping an eye contact with them, they smiling, they engaged, I started to down my voice a bit as well, make some pauses. So again, if you feel that your audience is a bit sleepy, try to rise up the voice and tone and make them interested, at least to listen what you say. And yes, a few moments, how to be outstanding presenter. That part we will start right after our two pitches and our pitch session. So now I would like to introduce Oleg Giberstein, to make his pitch. He's confident speaker and not fresher at all. So Oleg, I just make you presenter. And Oleg, feel free to introduce yourself first. Say a few words about yourself. And yes, join us if you can double check your camera. And in the meantime, I'm going to prepare the presentation. So Oleg, please switch on the connection. And Oleg is going to present his coin rule startup today. So Oleg, we are waiting for you. And before that, feel free to introduce yourself. Let me open show the slide. Oleg Giberstein from London, co-founder of Coin Rule. If you can make now the presentation,
can you
switch
guys
on
hear
the
me?
camera and sounds on your camera.
Sarah?
Yes, Oleg?
Yes, fantastic. Sorry, this is a new system, so I've been like trying to figure out how this works. Hi everyone, very, very good, great presentation. I've been kind of zoning in and out because I was doing other things, so I've picked up a lot of good bits and pieces of advice. Do you want me to pitch straight away, or shall I talk a little bit, also give a few pieces of advice?
Please do your pieces of advice. You experienced pitch, you have enough experience of pitching. So please share your experience, introduce yourself, tell a bit more about your journey and how other people can get some advice from you on how to be outstanding.
Sure. Yeah, just maybe like, so I'm Oleg, nice to meet you guys. So founder of CoinRule. We help users automate their investments, but obviously I'm going to talk about that when I pitch. I've won a few pitch competitions in the past few years. My startup, we won our FinTech Lab, our accelerator competition, got 200,000 in funding out of that. I've won competitions in London. So I have a little bit of experience on that front. One thing I would say, what I did not yet hear is advice. A lot of competitions I won by not going there, because obviously we are in a time where there are a lot of these pitching opportunities, and a lot of founders end up wasting a lot of time going to all of them instead of actually talking to their users and building a good product. So what I do these days is I actually, even before I commit or apply, I make sure that I talk to people who have been there or done it, unless it's something that's obviously well known. And just by not going, I feel like sometimes I'm winning this competition because I'm actually using my time better. Another, like, I'm just gonna say maybe two, three quick things which I had prepared, because most of the stuff I think has already been said. One thing is to pause. So when you speak, to pause. Like, people underestimate how critically important it is. You're much better off giving less content but speak clearly, slowly, and pause, than to just kind of ramble along. Like, that's a huge thing which time and time again happens. Also, people underestimate hard work. So when I go to pitch, when I really go and I decide that I want to pitch to win that competition, I will know my pitch inside out. You can wake me up at night and I'll be able to start from any slide and pitch you that slide or pitch it backwards or whatnot. And not only does that give me confidence, but it also actually gives me the possibility to be flexible, because I'm just confident I know what I'm going to be saying. And then the final thing, I think obviously that probably came up, but like, you will present your slides and your work in a lot of different contexts. So whether you're standing on a stage and you're pitching to an audience, or you're sitting with 3 VCs in a room and you're kind of talking to them through much more like technical things, that's obviously a completely different conversation. So what I'm doing mostly these days is I present to VCs. So those decks, they have more content, they're more technical. Even sometimes when I share a deck by email, that deck will have much more content than a presentation that I will hold when I'm talking on stage. So a lot of these kind of things, obviously, I mean, I think, Slava, you spoke about like audience, etc. So that matters a lot. So I don't want to bore you with all this, because obviously you've already now heard from some amazing speakers. So how can I get started here?
Yeah, let me activate. I'm gonna help you a bit. If you can give me a sort of the signal where to switch your slide, I'm happy to do so.
Okay, so I cannot switch the slides.
Or if you can try to share your screen, probably you can share your screen and make it yourself.
Let's see. I have to say my laptop, unfortunately, has not been coping well with self-isolation, so you might be hearing some weird background noise.
That's okay.
But hopefully that's working out. Let me see if I can share that.
Yep. Let's make sure. Yeah. Let me know if you're able to share it.
Presentation. I think it will take now too much time to figure it out. Actually, why don't you just change the slides for me, Slava? I will just tell you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm happy to do so. So tell me if you're ready. Let me open the one more time.
Slava, I was born ready. You know that.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Give me a signal.
Making money can be fun. If you are today a millennial investor, Slava, please change. Actually, I think I can, Slava, I can change it myself here. Next slide. Okay, I can do it. Perfect. I'll do it from scratch. Making money can be fun. If today you are a millennial investor, chances are you're buying Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies because it's fun and the markets move fast and you can actually make some money. But after a little bit of buying and selling, you will quickly realize something that a lot of traditional investors already know. The world of finance is changing. Today, a vast majority of financial markets are run by bots. As The Economist wrote just last October, over 80% of trading volume across many different markets are managed by algorithmic trading funds, hedge funds, professional investors. So a poor millennial investor is stuck trading in this market by themselves. They don't necessarily have the risk appetite, they don't have the skill, they don't have the time to be able to compete with these advanced traders. This is why we're building CoinRule. CoinRule is the smart assistant that helps our millennial investors to fight back. It's very simple. If the price of Bitcoin goes up 5%, buy Bitcoin at this price, and if it goes up more, sell. You press launch and the rule goes live into the market. It's that easy. And because of that, our users are loving us. We have over 6,000 users on the platform. We are already in revenue with over $2,000 monthly run rate. We've been doubling this every month since we launched our paid plans. We have crossed $3 million in live traded volume, and our users are creating over 3,000 strategies per month. They're loving it. Our team, we are 3 founders. Gabriele, my co-founder and our CEO, comes from a product UI UX background, places like UBS, MIT, Lloyd's Banking Group. I myself was at Citigroup in banking and at the University of Oxford, and Zdenek, our CTO, has a deep background as a full-stack developer and in cybersecurity. Other than that, our team is 7 people. We raised funding last year from MKB Bank, which is one of the largest banks in Hungary, and also 2 angel investors. So our previous investors are part of our advisory board and have been doing an incredible job of helping us to get to where we are today. And in terms of the roadmap, what's exciting about what we are doing in particular is that although we have started to offer cryptocurrency trading automations, we are also expanding into other asset classes. So today you can build your automated trading strategies on the various cryptocurrency trading platforms, but later this year we'll be rolling out partnerships with traditional brokers, of whom we have a few already lined up. You'll be able to trade stocks, ETFs, commodities, and what else you might want to be trading. We're also applying for an FCA robo advisory license, and for which we'll be going through the FCA sandbox. A few words about the market. There are 35 million active cryptocurrency traders in the world out there. Trading volume has grown 50% over the last year. And one number that very few people realize, that today's cryptocurrency trading volume worldwide makes up 10% of US stock market trading volume, which is a huge number. Now, of course, as we're expanding into other assets rather than just cryptocurrencies, the opportunity becomes even larger. Pricing-wise, it's a very simple model. We charge you a monthly subscription fee, no transaction fees, no hidden costs. It's basically like Netflix, but it makes you money. And finally, why are we here? We are raising, actually forget about these numbers, this is a bit old. We're raising £300,000 right now, full SCIS advanced assurance available, and we're looking to connect with both UK, European, and international funds and investors. Thank you very much for your attention. It's been a pleasure, and please come talk to me if you have any questions.
Oleg, thank you very much. Now we have our invited experts to give you the feedback, ask some questions. I'm connecting Matt Black, if you give some comments or advice or any questions you get in for Oleg.
I'll switch off my audio so the quality will come better.
Please do. I would like to connect Matt. So Matt, if you can activate your camera, your sound, and give us the comment feedback, any questions to Oleg to give your thoughts on that pitch, please, Matt. And yes, I just made you presenter. Yep.
Hi, Matt.
Hi, Oleg. So we've been chatting in text and on LinkedIn as well. So I was looking at his
I didn't realize you would be here today.
quite
Good
cool,
to meet
actually.
you.
And in fact, I invited another funder and investor to come on. She's watching as well. Yeah, really good. And I like that the pitch deck looks beautiful. It looks really good. The only thing I picked up, and actually I learned this from you, Slava, the kind of contrast idea. You know, especially because we're talking, and maybe some people are working at low bandwidth. There was a couple of slides there where the contrast between some of the figures wasn't good. Figures was a little bit gray, but generally the pitch was really, really good. I would have liked to have seen the potential. Remember, it's the, you know, I suppose it's the it's about the audience you're trying to pitch to. If there's some investors, I mean, there is some investors here today, including myself. I want to know how much money you're going to make. What's your exit strategy? I didn't quite catch it. If you said it, I didn't quite catch what that was. I was making notes and stuff, so I was half listening. So I do apologize if you did. We didn't talk about it, but it was good. It was good. It did demonstrate something unique, which was really important. It did demonstrate a problem, and I did see that. Yeah, and it was very slickly done. So I'm really happy. There wasn't a really good call to action at the end, which I always like to see. Something like, you know, this is the current round. This is how many we've raised so far. Get in there and buy some right now. That kind of stuff. I like to see a bit of incentivization for the startups. For the investors. And that's pretty much it. But all in all, really, really nice. I can see your actual valuation is not bad. I think it might actually even potentially be a bit under what you should be looking at. But the amount of money, I think you've got to watch the amount of money too. Sometimes founders think that if I ask for less money, I'm more likely to get it. Yeah. But that's not necessarily true. I think I'd rather you slightly overestimate and ask for a little bit too much money, and then we give you a bit less than you underestimate, because it doesn't sound like you're very confident. You know, 300 grand sounds like a lot of money to most people. Like most founders watching would thinking, oh, like 300 grand is so much money. But no, not really. I mean, if you were stateside, they would, 90% of investors wouldn't even talk to you because it's just too small an amount of money. You know, I know.
We had actually a call with a partner from Andreessen Horowitz about our fundraising last week. So obviously, I mean, like there are a couple of things maybe I'll tell you on a separate call. We actually had the term sheet in place already, and then the investor pulled out because of Corona last month. So we kind of, it's interesting.
Yes, I would totally use that. I would say that I know that the proposition is right on point because we had an investor who was at term sheets. It's priced to sell. It's at a good place, but with the money invested now, I know it's a high risk environment, but it's absolutely well priced. That's what I'd be saying. I'd be really selling it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Matt, thanks a lot. Thank you very much. We have one more pitch as well. Please stay with us. And now I would love to connect Solve Me, please, if you can give us any comments as well. Let me try to do so. Just make a connection with Solve Me, VJ from London. So Solve Me, if you can also join us and give your feedback regarding the pitch, please.
Yeah, it was a very good presentation. I would say the pitch was very well made. That is definitely visible.
Thank you.
And I think the value proposition is very well articulated. A couple of points which I thought we should probably talk about is what is the future, right? So by investing into a startup, the investor is really buying into your future, right? So you've got to paint a picture of that future, right? So what is going to happen, by investing into this, and how are you going to use that money? How are you going to power that particular future, right? So that's essentially an area where I would actually look at. The other aspect to also talk about is around the shall I say the amount of money that is which is being raised, right? So how do you kind of justify that this is right or this is enough? This will take me here. So it's all tied into that particular future that you're trying to paint, actually.
Thanks for the feedback.
Anything to add, Soumi? You're fine?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, those are the points that I wanted to talk about.
Great, Soumi. Thank you very much. Oleg, I guess please follow up with our invited guests later on. Sure. And I believe they will give you more feedback in chat, and please connect them on LinkedIn. Now I would like to connect another startup founder, Derek Stewart. Oleg, thank you very much for your contribution. It was really great presentation. Now I'm making Derek Stewart as a presenter to pitch his startup and make the presentation of his company. Derek Stewart from London. So Derek, I just made you presenter. And if you can connect us, and in the meantime, I'm just opening your presentation of your PaySme startup. So Derek, connect us when you can. And also, if you can introduce yourself, give a few advice points on how to make your pitch presentation outstanding and how to win a pitch competition based on your experience. And Derek is the winner of Eligent Accelerator Investment Pitch Day 2019. So Derek knows a lot about pitching. So Derek, let me know when you're ready. And now we would like to hear your pitch presentation and give some feedback and give some comments on that. So yes, if you can click on yourself and if you can click on yourself and activate the camera and sound. So usually you should click on yourself and activate your camera, because I just made you presenter. In the list, you can click on yourself and activate your camera and sound. I believe it's going to come shortly. So yes, Derek Stewart, founder and CEO of PaySme. So joining us tonight from London, and Derek is going to pitch his startup very shortly. So yes, if you can double check your camera and sound and activate it, yes, that would be great. And Derek is the founder of PaysMe, and is also a fintech startup, I guess. So Derek, I guess you're connecting.
Hi, Slava, can you hear me?
Yes. Good evening, Derek. Please, if you can make a quick introduction of yourself, give some advice to early stage startup founders, how to make a pitch presentation outstanding, and then please pitch your startup to the audience.
Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Derek Stewart. So I've spent 35 years in financial services and technology. Prior to starting my own business, I built from scratch a $2 billion fund of hedge funds business together with Bank of New York Mellon. And the one thing that's really helping me now is for 17 years, I operated a fund which invests in distressed securities. So I'm really used to operating in stressed times. And that's usually when you find the best opportunities. So for me, I'm really quite excited, not about the lockdown and the consequences, but from an investment perspective, I'm working on more opportunities now than I've seen for a long time. I'm also the largest investor in my own business. I've invested £760,000 on my own capital, which means I'm really focused on everything right now. So in terms of advice, the one piece of advice I'd give, and I think Matt touched upon it earlier, if you weren't solving a real world problem before, you're not going to be in business long after this, right? So it's about solving a real problem every day that helps someone. And if it doesn't, what's the point? So that's the one piece of advice I'd give every entrepreneur to think about. What problem am I solving? And what difference is it making to the world or to my customers? And if it isn't really helping anyone, then go and do something else.
Derek, when you go into the meeting to pitch your project in front of investors, what's your preparation plan? How do you prepare to the meeting, to the pitch, in order to make sure it's going to be, the good result?
Yeah. So obviously, I a bit like Oleg was saying, I know the pitch and I know the content, but before I even approach anyone, I analyze who the company is, what current investments they have in their portfolio. I look at the financial statements of every company that they've invested in on Companies House, so I know what they're investing into. I'll give you an example. There was a list published on LinkedIn of 300 plus companies that is the status of whether they're still investing during COVID-19. And I've been through in the last 3 weeks all 300 of those individual VCs, and the ones that are relevant for what we do, stage, size, sector. I've been on their websites and I've downloaded the financial statements. So I know before I contact any investor, I know exactly why I'm contacting them and that we're a good fit.
Right. So maybe it's time to present your company, right? PaysMe.
And can I work it from here?
I guess I just opened the presentation. Yes. You can click yes.
Okay. So thanks everyone for joining. So let me just jump straight in. So I'm the founder of PaysMe. I'm also the largest investor. So what is PaysMe? So you may be familiar with the concept of a super app, which is quite common in Asia. In Europe, there are none. So a super app is where we're bundling together a suite of financial services for small business communities that are not currently set up for the digital economy. So let me give you an example why that's a problem. And in fact, let me just tell you the types of services. So this includes mobile payments, e-commerce, digital banking, insurance, credit cards, automated accounting, pensions, and loyalty and rewards. So those are the services that we're bundling together. Why are we doing it? Well, here's the problem. SMEs spend 74% of the time on admin and what I'd call value-added activities, right? That's not my decision. I've not come up with those numbers. That's McKinsey. What McKinsey found is that these customers just want one integrated service in an easily accessible channel. That's what PaysMe's problem that we're solving. There's only 3 things our customers are interested in, and that's what we think about every day. How do I save you money? How do I make you money? And how do I help you grow your business faster? If we can't solve those 3 problems every day, there is no point in PaysMe existing. So this is really our focus on a daily basis. So this is a huge opportunity, right? So if we just talk about the UK and Ireland, everyone wants to dominate the world, but look at the size of the market in the UK and Ireland for small businesses and self-employed. This is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and many of these industries have a common need. They need digitalization because they haven't been able to do it themselves. It's large, inefficient, fragmented, and if you're a small business, you can't do all of these things yourself. So we've identified very specific marketplaces where we have knowledge and expertise that I'd say is almost unrivaled across the supply chain. I'm not going to spend much time on this one, but the concept of a super app is where you can bring together multiple solutions in a plug and play basis into one platform, and that platform can then be customized for different industries or different customer problems. But let me show you what we have done to date. So we already have 3 solutions on the market solving the same types of problems. One is black cabs and licensed taxis. The second one is market traders and the high street independents. And the third one is sports clubs. These industries are traditional, old-fashioned cash economies. Now this pandemic has magnified more than ever that they need digital solutions to be able to compete, and we are providing those solutions. And our business model is very much driven by multiple revenue streams. It's not about one stream. Anyone that's relying on one stream today is in trouble. So it's about building recurring revenue streams from daily payments, mobile payments, transactional streams from e-commerce, and also we're building out a subscription model for enterprise customers, because within those supply chains, it's entirely fragmented and there's a myriad of ways to make money from the same customer base. In terms of our team, what's interesting is we've got 3 full-time employees, me and 2 others. So in this environment where our revenues have declined, actually our cost base is so low, it almost makes no difference. We can recover very quickly. But we have got on our advisory board a team of experts from payments, from the markets industry, and also from finance in places like Funding Circle. And interestingly, at the bottom, I'm the largest investor, but I have 70 investors who are all experts in financial services. One of them owns a digital bank, one is in payments, one of them owns an insurance company. So our network of investors are invaluable within the financial services sector. Last couple of slides. What is it that we do different? Our expertise, it isn't tech. Tech's a commodity now. What we do different is we're experts in financial services across the spectrum, and we're experts in industries, and therefore we have deep knowledge and relationships across the supply chain of these specific industries. That's the real added value. Everything else is a commodity. In terms of traction, we've already done about 1.5 million mobile payments, generated 45 million in cash flow for our customers. And right now, actually, across our value chain, those 3 sectors, we have identified 3 very exciting opportunities that we're working on during the lockdown. And we've been able to show that we can get market penetration in these different markets. In terms of funding, well, we're quite fortunate. We actually closed an interim funding round just maybe a month ago, which has given us sufficient cash and also given us money to execute a strategy that will grow our revenues by 200% post the lockdown. So as we come out of this lockdown, we'll be able to go from 20k a month recurring revenue to around 60 with a high degree of confidence. Now we're looking to raise £1.5 million. And this is really about scaling the business and also not only domestically, but preparing for international expansion. And after £1.5 million, we don't think we'll need any more capital because we'll be profitable and it becomes self-financing. And just to finish, I just want to finish on the financials. Number one, we've made it very clear the sectors we're going after, the target revenues we're looking to make, and the market share that we think is realistic. Secondly, we have a model that's based on a very low fixed cost basis, and our scaling comes from our customer referrals and local brand ambassadors. One cab driver in Ireland has signed up 3,000 other cab drivers. That's the kind of network effect we're looking for. And look, when it comes to exits, if we can deliver on these numbers, and notice that I don't put revenues up, it's all about profitability and EBITDAs. If we can deliver these numbers, there'll be no shortage of exits. My preferred exit is a stock market listing because I have 35 years experience in the stock market, and then everybody can get their exit and pick their own exit at their own time. So I think that's me finished. Thank you very much. And yeah, I'd love to take any questions.
Right. So, Derek, thank you very much. And now, if that's okay, again, I will connect Solve.me. Solve.me, if you can give us the feedback regarding the pitch, any comments, questions, feel free to give us your opinion. So please join us and give us your comments, please. So yeah, I just made the presenter Solve.me. Yep.
Yeah, that was a fantastic pitch. Definitely, Derek. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
It was very well made. And I would say the experience in the market and the shall I say the daily task of actually working with customers is clearly visible from the deck, right? And the way it was kind of presented, right? So I would probably have one comment to make. Globally, the SME market is an underserved market in terms of, shall I say, these kind of super apps or whatever you want to call it. Right from, shall I say, banking services all the way to various other platforms, etc. The SME market is underserved. The SME market is definitely, shall I say, disoriented, disconnected. Not enough amount of funding actually goes in, and on top of it, this is a market that is hard hit by the lockdown as well, right? Mm-hmm. So having said that, right, and we also know that the pandemic situation that we are into at this point of time is not going away that easily. These lockdown measures are likely to be extended in some way or the other. We might have some disruption, definitely in our normal lives. So with that kind of a view, there might be possibly two alternatives that can happen. One is that the super app that you're presenting could start gaining more traction in terms of SMEs starting to access this. The other side is also to actually look at potential loss of revenue in the case of people stopping to use paid services at a certain point of time. So a view in terms of what risks that your potential customer base actually faces at this point of time. If you look at, say, marketplaces at this point, there is not much of a footfall that we see. So is this kind of a situation going to exist for a very long time? We don't know, but it is good to kind of work those projections together. The consumption story that we see, if you actually look at the UK's GDP at this point of time, 2/3 of the UK's GDP is actually shall I say, consumption-led, right? So is that going to stay the same, or is that going to change? So might want to bake in those assumptions. Plan for the worst. It might actually be the best, right? So that's all that I had to say.
Soumya, thank you very much for your feedback. Thank you very much. Incredibly valuable feedback and very wise and very in depth regarding the industry and sector. Thank you very much. Please stay with us. We're getting some few questions in the chat. Now, I would love to connect Matt Black. Matt, please give us the feedback regarding the pitch. You already been during our pitch day in London in November. Please share your insights and how do you like the pitch and what to improve, or maybe it's all great. Tell us.
Yeah, so I was there last year, well, ages ago, whenever it was that you pitched last. Really great pitch. I haven't seen as much progression actually as I was hoping. I would have thought you would have been conquering the world by now, Derek. Come on now, you've been.
Well, Matt, we just Yeah, we need money to conquer the world.
Oh, come on, money. But anyway, on that topic, to be honest, actually, I was with you all the way until right at the end there, to be honest. And there's a weird little thing. And in fact, I've been talking about it on and off all day with bloody founders all day long. It's the same thing, is that we all have our startups and our strategy of our companies tend to be set by our own personal biases and our own personal feelings. The CEO the company is a reflection of that. And that can be good and that can be bad. Yeah. So if you're really intensively like a programmer and you're really intensive like that, your company will look that way. And you'll see them all the time when you go to a website and they're feature heavy and sizzle light. You know what I mean? Things like that. Now, I'll be honest, I see your company having a bit of an Achilles heel in that I think your advisory deck is stacked with people that are mostly like you. And what that brings is it brings a lot of people with the same perspective. And it's for me, it's coming out in your statement. When we get to this point and we hit our EBITDAs, we'll be great. We'll be self-sustaining and it'll be great. And we'll go LPO will be great. And I'm thinking myself, you're shitting me. Like, I'm sorry to say it, but I'm like, oh, come on. You've got to be much more aggressive than that. If I was hitting the numbers you had, I would have an acquisition strategy. I would have a growth strategy that would be unrivaled. You wouldn't believe it. I'd be after another 100 million, to be honest. You know, so 1.5 over X number of years to hit, 400 million or something? Come on, you can do much better than that. I think you've got a really aggressive product that you could go much harder. And instead of going IPO, go into a nice acquisition strategy and take on a few big international players. And then what will happen is people will say, oh, I have to buy this guy. And that'll be much more valuable to you, to be honest, than IPO, I would have thought. I would have thought there would be big players out there, that maybe even the Visas of this world that would look at snapping you up. I would have thought any other kind of big financial heavyweights might be looking at buying you up because of the integrated nature, cross-market nature. There's just so many pots that you could be sticking your fingers into. I just think this kind of diversification is so doable. I'm just disappointed you're not more aggressive, to be honest. Just watch that kind of centric thinking based on who you are. I know financial people are like, hold on to the money.
Now, I'd like to come back on two things because I think they're really, really great points, Matt. Number one is when you run a hedge fund for 17 years and your objective is do not lose money, you always undersell and over-deliver, right? And I'm never going to change, right? I'm never going to suddenly go from being a guy that undersells and always over-delivers to suddenly be going, isn't this amazing? The second reason I've never really done that is because we've been living in a frothy fintech world where everyone is over-promising and everybody's under-delivering, right? So I can't change that because that's who I am. And you shouldn't change who you are. The second thing I'd say is on the acquisition strategy, the point of an IPO or a listing is not an exit strategy necessarily. It's a growth strategy. It allows you to access other forms of capital from public markets, which is much bigger, much larger than VCs. And secondly, you can then use your market multiple as a public company to acquire private companies at a much lower multiple. So that is a part of our strategy. The reason I took it out of our deck is because almost all VCs don't want you to go public and then do public buying private. It's alien to them. They don't understand it. And when I've talked about it before, it's been a blocker. So I've taken it out and basically said, don't worry, the exit will... And you're right, Visa is someone we work with as a strategic partner. They have also expressed interest in what we do. And as do all the digital banks, by the way, because they don't have access to our customer base. So I just wanted to come back because they're all great points and they're actually things that we are addressing, but I probably haven't sold them very well. But thank you, Matt.
Totally fine. I just, I wanted to flag up that one thing because it was so apparent, the kind of strategy of the company and the setting of the company and the kind of board and who you are. So I just wanted to flag that really point. Not as much for you, much for everybody else watching as it is for you, because I think it's something that comes up again and again and again. But, my advice would be to stack your board with a couple of rebels. that people that are going to question you and challenge you a bit and set a new strategy, because I think you've got plenty of room, like with regards to how much you've raised recently and what your next raising cap is. I think you've got plenty of room to do a bit more experimentation. You got plenty of money potentially to acquire some small players with a little bit of a lead into some markets where you can make a massive amount of value appear immediately and add a huge amount of value to your company. I think we're not talking about long-term acquisition strategy and that's all you do. And eventually, IPO is definitely part of the journey for you, I think. And I totally know what IPO means. Even though I haven't done it myself, I've worked with thousands of companies, But it's just something that I wanted to make sure that you're absolutely on thinking about and you're addressing, because that kind of balancing in the board can be tricky, can be really tricky, especially in a really specialist niched area that you're in. It's probably hard for you to find the right type of people, but don't always get people that think the same as you, I think is the key thing.
Great. Thank you,
great
Matt.
Presentation. Really good.
Thank you very
much. I
much.
want to help you raise the next round.
Matt, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Stay with us, and pleasure to have the feedback. If you don't mind, Derek, I would add a few bits from my personal kind of the impression. You start your pitch deck from addressing problem for SMEs and that it's great to have this kind of the super app. How about maybe going or starting from the end user, from all these taxi drivers or some people who are part of SME company, actual users, to explain what they need. Let's say maybe have a user case or real hero of the user of the app, saying like, this is John wasting a lot of time to worry about the insurance, to the banking, to loyalty, any discounts, and he wants to simplify his life and make sure again he's able to work and focus on his work and making sure everything in place. Because otherwise, I don't see the human in this pitch deck. Who is that person feeling the pain? I feel in the SMEs, companies, big brands, corporates, I don't know, like all these like titles of the companies, and I still want to have this kind of a bit more personal connection to the people facing the problem. Somehow, if you can, I don't know, make a connection and maybe again explain, and maybe if you make a connection with yourself, saying, I know these people feeling the pain, I talking to them, I know what they struggle with, and that's why we're doing this super app for SME. I don't know. This is my personal opinion.
No, I think that's a good point. And I probably, for example, before I come on this, I was on a conference call with the second largest taxi organization in London, talking about how we expand this going forward and take it around the country. So I agree with you. I think we probably take some of the personalized stuff for granted because we're doing it every day and we perhaps don't project it. So I think that's a really good point. Thanks for that. I'll try to.
And I'm 100% sure you have so many examples or to put these people up front and showcase the day-to-day problems they have and how your two can solve it and optimize their life. And it's very human related. Your startup is not about, deep tech. It's much more about the people and how you can help them to optimize their life and, especially in financial, aspect.
Yeah. Great, thank you, Slava.
Derek, thanks a lot. Please, I ask our audience, everyone, feel free to ask your questions. We still having about 5-10 minutes to discuss. I'm just giving you the few bits of the presentation about the delivery, and please give the comments and give the any questions. We select the best question tonight, so please ask your questions, give any feedback, anything about pitching practice, about delivering your presentation to the target audience. Please ask your question. We also select the best question of the session. A few comments about how to be outstanding presenter. And as you saw now, we had amazing presentation from Oleg Giberstein and Derek Stewart. Well done, and I'm very pleased to have you tonight. You did extremely well, and I think that was a kind of the benchmark to follow in order to make outstanding presentation for the audience. And A few points. Please, when you trying to pitch, let your audience to enjoy the experience. And I believe all of us enjoyed the experience of having Oleg and Derek by having the nice presentation. So again, think about your audience and make this enjoyable process by delivering engaging presentation, by having very interesting, good visuals and good content. And when in order to be outstanding, for sure it's important to have a positive vibe and also align your appearance. If you are running a fintech startup, it's probably not a great case to to wear a t-shirt or training appearance. So please kind of reflect who you are and what your startup does. Or if you do, some sports startup, you can probably can wear some branded clothes of your startup name and so on, and be a bit more casual. And also, please, as we mentioned before, please use body language. We have face, hands, legs, body to move it around. So please use your body to engage with the audience. A body can say a lot, as Steven and Peter mentioned before, to engage with the audience. And what is important is definitely important to keep an eye contact with your audience, to talk to real people, find these eyes. And Lex is hard on livecast, but yes, for sure, agree with you, Matt. But still, please keep an eye contact and make sure, again, you're following the audience and see the reaction. And coming back to my personal experience, I won a startup pitch competition at Westminster Business School in 2016. And during my presentation, I saw one gentleman, and his appearance was very serious. He didn't feel very he didn't look very engaged in person, and he was very didn't look optimistic as well. And I tried to catch his eye, contact, and it didn't work out. And I was feeling, okay, it's probably disaster. And he was very serious. And then in the end, he was giving the feedback and said it was probably one of the best presentations ever he saw. And what is my conclusion out of it? It was very scary during the presentation to see someone not really, smiling or being happy. So if you see someone very serious, or even, not giving you any response during the presentation, so don't worry. It doesn't mean sometimes that you're doing something wrong. But at least try to find someone interested in what you do. Find that smiling person and try to engage with these people in order to get the confidence. Also, what is important is definitely to know a few points about how to present, and what is important here to mention that it's need to engage with the audience, talk, to open, to have opening questions, to have any kind of interaction. And what we discussed as well, again, it's important to express energy, passion, voice, to make it louder, or pauses, as Oleg said, is extremely important. Not only to speak quickly, as I speak right now, but also to make a pause and make some gaps during your pitch presentation, and be able to slow down and be able to make some attention to particular topics during your pitch presentation. I'm slowing down my speech and kind of the showing that it's really important, especially when you want to make a specific attention. And also, introduction and end are key. So that means your introduction parts starts not from first slide. Your introduction part starts when you enter in the audience, when you're making first steps to rise up and to go up to the audience, when you make your appearance. So when you open in the door and go into entrance, show your confidence by the way you walk into the audience, the way you go to the audience, and the way you're making your first steps. It's incredibly important. So your presentation starts not from the first slide and from the moment the people see you. So please make sure your confidence goes not at the first slide, but beforehand. And yes, a few points as well about the body language. It's extremely important to have your body language in place, aligned with the message you're trying to say with your presentation and your speech. And you start, as I mentioned before, starts from entrance and greeting. Please interact with the audience and show the confident posture. So that means please stay confident. Don't open your eyes, or don't put your eyes somewhere on top or below, because it gives not very clear message. Are you hiding something? Please look straight to the audience, talk to them, engage with your hands, and interact, show the information with slides, and also get back to the audience you have. And how to build your confidence. It's very tricky because not everyone confident by nature, and it's very important to practice. I think some of my neighbors, they hate me because when I started, I was about to make my first presentation. I did a training all the night. I was repeating my presentation maybe 100 times at my house. And as Oleg and Derek said, if someone wakes me up before I make a presentation, I remember every single word, every single slide of my presentation. That's the kind of the level you should have before you actually trying to make the presentation. And please stay stable. As I said, when you make a presentation, don't fly around, don't put your hands, don't touch your nose, and it's probably due to the coronavirus is not good because of we need to protect our mouth, but still don't touch your face, mouth, because it's like you're trying to hide something. So please make sure, again, you're not hiding your face during the presentation. And use power of your voice. Definitely, if you speak very silent, it's very hard to listen and follow your attention. But if you speak very confident and you speak loud enough, it's much more easy to stay awake and stay around. And please, my advice, please train with your mentor or train with your advisor. If you just about to go to investment pitch, make training with someone in order to give you that advice we had today. Today we had by our experts and the advices from Oleg and Derek, as we discussed. Oleg, stay safe as well, and please contact Oleg. Everyone, Oleg is very intelligent and engaged person to help to early stage startup founders to get confidence before a pitching session, and also how to deal with emotions. It's very important also to make sure you beat your fears before you going into the room. And if you have some fears, if you have some lack of confidence, make sure you worked it out before. And what is my hint before I actually make very important presentation? I'm switching off my phones. I'm switching off my social media. So before actually I'm delivering any presentation, I don't have any distraction before my pitch. I'm also trying to avoid overthinking before actually pitch and practice. I know I'm entering the space. I don't think, oh my God, this is very scary. I'm trying to focus just on the message I'm trying to say. And it doesn't really matter if I forgot something. What does matter is the way I present and the way I speak to the audience. And also, I try to keep focus on the delivery and content. And if it helps to you, if you're able to do it by the regulations for the pitch presentation competition, bring someone to support you, someone you trust, like a co-founder, business partner, mentor, advisor, some of someone from your family, if you feel that that person gives you more confidence, please bring someone to support you during the pitch presentation. And what is most important, you need to enjoy the process of making that presentation yourself. So as soon like you feel that the way you trained in your house or beforehand, you feel that it's not pain anymore, it's enjoyable process, I think that's the moment when you're ready to pitch. And just a few slides before we making final a speech from our guest experts, Matt and Soumi. How to sell yourself and your idea, as we discussed with our previous experts today as well. So what is very important is to make sure that you reflect your startup idea by the way you interact. So please make sure you reflect the way you appear, the way you talk, you reflect your startup. And the people get attracted by the way who you are and what you do. And as soon like they really like the way you do really like what you say and how do you say that, that's the moment how you can sell your startup and your idea. And please focus on convincing that you are the best experts in the field. You have enough expertise, you really like what you do, and you really enjoy the process, and you really want someone to be part of your journey. And as soon as the people, they really see the joy, interest, and your shiny eyes, that's much more easy to be part of something like that. And as we discussed before, the people invest into people, not in startups. So first question investors ask, would I invest in that person, especially at the early stage of your business? And what is also important is to show your track record of experience and expertise. As Oleg and Derek pitched today, it was very solid, convincing points that you have more than enough expertise in the fields in order to be ready and attract investors and make it together with someone who really wants to be part of it. And also what is important to show how product is valuable, and what discussed, thank you very much, Peter and Steven previously. It's very important to show that product is valuable for the people. It's not only because you like that product, it's not because you're enjoying your business, it's just because it's extremely valuable, helpful, it makes someone's life easier and, solve some problem and solve some pain. And yes, so I'm just connecting Soumi for last call, so last speech. If you get last questions, please feel free to ask last questions. Soumi, if you can summarize the points we discussed today and give a final advice, and Matt, please join the session. If you don't mind, give us your final comments in order how to make outstanding presentation in 2020 and how to make sure, again, you're able to convince investors to join your startup in current situation and the current conditions. So Soumi, please.
Absolutely. It's been fantastic being on this session and listening into both the pitches. As I started off, basically talking about what is happening in the market, etc. Be aware of the pandemic situation. Be aware of the economic implications at the back, and how this is going to change various businesses. And we expect to see a new normal. So obviously take those into account. And secondly, or rather most importantly, sell the future than the numbers. Yeah. So those were my sort of summary points.
Right. Thank you very much, Soumi. Matt, join us if anything to add.
So, it's been a really great day. I've really enjoyed the presentations, really good. And I liked your stuff that you talked about, Slava, very, very good. In fact, I'm really waiting. I'm really keen. I've said it in the text already. I wait for the real life events. I think there's nothing like presenting in person. There really isn't. But it's hard to present over the internet. It's hard to present live. But in fact, we're doing a lot more video-based pitch presentations at the moment. So it's worth you trying your best. And in online, in some ways, if you're not presenting live, you can record, practice, edit, work on some good lighting. It's really important. I myself worked a little bit on the lighting. You can see it's quite good. Work on your lighting, guys. Work on your audio. Work on the environment that you know, if you're a pitcher, you need to have it set up so that you're presenting yourself in the best possible light. There's plenty of information out there, and in the world we're in at the moment, online presentation is really critical. What's behind you, how reflections work, how you lit, how your audio comes across. It all has a reflection on how people think of you, how people think you come across, how professional you are. You know, mine's not too bad, but yeah, there's some other people that need a little bit of work. But you know, it shouldn't say something about you, but it does. So you've just got to be aware of that. I think that's the only thing that hasn't been talked about tonight is the world of online presenting. It's harder, but it can be done. It can be done really, really well, and with really inexpensive equipment. It just with some forethought. So that's pretty much my last little thing. And I'd love to engage with anybody. If anybody needs a little bit of free advice, happy to chat to them. Obviously, you know, Slava's clients are Slava's clients. but if anybody needs a bit of advice, I'm open to it. I've got a bit of time at the moment, just sitting back and relaxing. But claps for NHS, by the way. It's 8 o'clock.
Right. Yes. Thanks a lot, everyone, for joining the session. And Matt said it's very friendly and very engaging community we're trying to build here. So please feel free to reach out us, Matt, Solve Me online, and we are. I believe we all are more than happy to help you. And just last comments about what's the next. And just to make a quick reminder about when we are meeting up shortly. So next session is on next Thursday, Technologies and Product Development for a Tech Startup, 30th of April 2020, 6 p.m. London time. Online Investment Pitch Day on 28th of May. A live broadcast session where startups will be pitching something similar we had today, but much more larger and bigger events. So book your tickets on Eventbrite. And Eligent Startup Weekends on 26, 28 of June. If you're looking for a co-founder trying to build your startup idea, feel free to find the tickets. And as we mentioned before, please use our social media, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, WhatsApp group, email to reach us out, or just go to eligent.club and find the contact details. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining our session. It was very enjoyable. And Tony, thank you very much for your questions. Again, we will contact you later on for your contribution to the discussion. And as always, we are very pleased to see you during our film festival. You get in the free tickets for film festival, as we discussed before. So yes, I'm stopping the sessions. Thank you very much, and see you shortly. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a good evening.